This podcast is a collaboration between Costard and Touchstone Productions and the Dads from the Crypt podcast.
Remember who you are.
This is the second time I've gone nuts and fought myself.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the How Not to Make a Movie podcast. I'm Alan Katz. This is part 2 of our conversation with Brandon Routh. But before we get back to Brandon, please hit the like button. And even better, actually, subscribe. We'll make it worth your while, somehow. When last we left Brandon, Superman Returns had just opened, and opened big, except not big enough for Warner Brothers to justify making the other 2 movies of the 3-picture deal to revive the Superman franchise. When Brandon donned the cape and leapt into the void, he expected to fly like Superman. Except now he found himself not flying. In fact, he found himself plunging toward Earth, even though the movie did great. It made money. What more do you want?
And it was well reviewed.
Yes, yeah. Empire ranked the movie 496 on the 500 greatest movies of all time.
Yeah, I think our Rotten Tomatoes is better than a lot of the other related stuff too.
So
I think we were punished for success and because of the emotionality that we gave that character. I think that's what they sort of resented. Some people resented that emotionality.
You mean the movie-going audience?
No, I think the people
powers that be.
Yeah, the powers that be. I think ultimately.
That's interesting. Yeah, I have a thought too.
Yeah. Would you say that this was a case of Superman, the emotional approach to the character being a little bit ahead of the curve? Because really, that's where a lot of superheroes ultimately end up. Peter Parker is an emotional wreck. That's the point.
I don't think. I mean, we brought in more humanity. That was what was so beautiful about Chris's performance, is the humanity in his Clark and in his Superman. Like he was all of those characters.
I would use the word vulnerable, and I'd use the word to describe how you played him, and which is it's totally the strange human connection to a superhero.
Yeah. He's still human. He's like, I mean, I see this. If my chemical, I could reverse the magnetic field of my body and use magnetism to float, because it's all, gravity's magnet. If you can reverse the magnetism, they're making flying cars and stuff. We're electron. What's that? Then you have a lot of power, right? So what does a person like that do with that power? Are you going to be a complete asshole and rule the world, or are you going to be a benevolent person who wants to see the kindness and beauty in humanity and share that message? And that's what I've wanted to do all my life. It's just that the idea of how that would be is grown and gets bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. I'm suddenly on a stage where I have that opportunity to kind of do that, and
suddenly the vehicle you're
crumbling down.
Yeah, it's like you had a custom-made vehicle, and that you were made for each other. It was quite. And then, like I said, guys in suits suddenly made a decision that they made money, but not enough money.
Sometimes they're not ready.
What made it special, and what made Brandon's performance so special for me was, the passion. I mean, we all had passion about making this movie, from Brian, me, to even John Peters to a degree, but the passion that Brandon brought to the character, to me, made the biggest difference. And that's why, in my mind, it was the best Superman movie that I'd ever seen and have seen since.
And you really believed a man could fly in this one.
Well, he can.
Yeah. In many in so many ways. Suddenly you veer. Well, Superman gets derailed. and that had to be
he
just.
has his junkyard moment.
I can only imagine the wow. It's beyond unsettling. How what was that? I don't want to take you back to that moment because it had to be horrible, but you know that there's a mountain now you have to get past. The fact that this thing that should have been wasn't.
Yeah.
How did you put yourself back together again? Because you did.
I want to. I mean, it was friends and family were very important, helpful. Gil and Jeannie being there, and awkward position for him to be in because technically he's producer and he's my boss, but I'm also living in his guest house and Jeannie's guest house, and not even paying full rent because I have been not working really because the movie didn't happen and other things aren't quite happening, and it's a very stressful and terrible time. So grateful for you guys for all of that, Courtney and I both, and my parents incredibly supportive and positive, and that things will come around, and really my wife Courtney incredibly important in the whole process, really, but in supporting and helping and protecting and looking out for me for things that I didn't know and dangers I didn't see because I was this little farm boy from Iowa. So that was incredibly important.
You
Courtney,
got back.
Courtney was a great support. My perspective, she was and is and has been always. And what we all do, we all trip and fall along the way, and we pick ourselves up, and we move on to the next, and or we leave. I mean, a lot of people have left, and it takes fortitude and perseverance, like tell people want to be in the film business to continue on.
What Gil and I have said on this podcast quite a few times, it's the thing that most outsiders don't appreciate about this business. It's a bitch getting onto the mountain, but that ain't the real bitch. The bitch is staying on the mountain. That's the thing that will fuck you up, because you gotta, it's what have you done for me lately?
I mean, I think there's truth to that. I think I didn't know it. I didn't know anything, and I really didn't. I had become an instant celebrity or notoriety, famous person at that time. I was able to, I think, play what was required of me, the roles in Superman Returns, effectively, and there are scenes I would like to do differently and take back and burn, but otherwise, I love about that movie. And what I was able to do as a 25-year-old in that movie. But I had so much. I had missed so much. I had missed so many acting steps, and also like life steps to get to where I was. So I was bewildered when I got there, and the path was gone. Yeah. The path was no longer clear, and I had to start to make my own path again, because I explained to you what happened. The story. The path was kind of like, oh this, oh that, oh. It's like, door. The question was, am I afraid to go through the door or not? Like, it was like, no. I mean, but then you get to the top, right? And I'm like, oh, just to peek at the thing, right? And you go through the door. And then like there was good, there's great, fantastic, amazing, but there's also like the other side of it. And I hadn't experienced it to that depth. And I think that was really challenging for me because then it was like, where are the doors?
Yeah,
that we're opening.
the other side of the door is where you begin to learn shit.
Mm-hmm.
About you, about life.
Yeah, a path. You have to begin to choose your own adventure. And before I wasn't really, I was unconsciously choosing my own adventure, and now I am shifting into choosing my own adventure.
It's hard to have that to bounce, but you did, and you began to work. You did an episode of Fear Itself, working with our friend Mick Garris.
Well, I was really with Mary Heron, the director, but yes, I was on.
Yeah. I mean, but it was still it was a Mick enterprise, yes. And
which is very. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's always nice to see the family supporting the family.
Yeah, sure, it's funny, and it's very fun. That's great, and it's also another parallel because of Chris doing Tales from the Crypt, which because it's a genre. I mean, similar kind of genre type thing, and that's probably the worst performance I've ever given in my life, by the way.
And Fear Itself.
Oh,
yeah. I'm sorry. I haven't seen it.
It's just bad. I mean, there's maybe some like, but a lot of it's just bad. That was a rough one.
But the good news was, there was work. There was suddenly you had to figure out how to be an actor again to a degree, because if you had been Superman, you wouldn't have had to have. All right, I don't mean you wouldn't have had to have acted, but all your acting choices would have been made for you. In a certain degree, it would have been whatever the character was going to do. You would have navigated within the range. You would not have been playing characters outside of Superman. You would have been playing.
Oh, right. Yeah. I would have just continued on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? I just know that.
Indeed.
I wasn't.
Now you had to go and really take who you are and put that into a range of characters with different names.
Yes.
And yet, strangely, then there was more superheroes came your way, and there's Flash. Yeah.
Well, before comic books came. We did Dylan Dog.
Dylan Dog, and
which happened almost simultaneous to Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which I played a villain. So villain.
Yeah. So the opportunities suddenly were coming for you to do really some really interesting stuff, and that wouldn't have been there probably if you had done 2 more movies of Superman. You would have been typecast. Forget about it. Oh man.
Probably.
I don't know.
Possibly, but I was okay with that. That's like, okay, so, and let's do this amazing thing. I'm not going to worry about that shit because that might not happen. Also, maybe I won't.
Yeah, but that was one of the problems Chris had. I mean, he, when we got to work with him,
George, I suppose,
we talked a little bit about this, and he really felt that Superman was great for his career in one level and terrible for his career in another, because he didn't get to play different parts that he really wanted to play. So it's really a mixed blessing, but it's, it goes back to the fortitude and the perseverance of what do I want to do?
Yeah. Well, listen, thankfully I like this character, and this is the kind of characters I want to play anyway. So for me, it was like, I'd be typecast as like a dorky dude, nerdy guy. I was like, that's my jam. That's where I find fun, to be the awkward, aloof, just like fish out of water. That was my first role ever in acting. The play is Aesop. In high school, my first was a fumbling idiot, but lovable, and that's my favorite thing to play.
Ray Palmer.
Ray and Clark are not idiots.
No. But
anybody at home keeping track of
but Ray, Ray Palmer came along. That's a cool part.
Yeah, it turned into a fantastic thing.
Yeah. I mean, really, it's you created other opportunities for yourself based on your body of work. Really, like I said, if you had perversely, if you had continued just to do the Superman thing, other opportunities would have been denied you. Most likely because this town is so fucked up in a way that it pigeonholes all of us.
Well, I think the trajectory, I think if we look, I guess just in this conversation I'm seeing, if we look holistically at the team behind that movie, projecting forward several years, and I think that it may be the best thing for the the legacy of Superman that that it didn't continue down that path with that team.
Totally true. I couldn't
And I
agree.
think I'm just kind of realizing that in this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I had to be the one, whatever, I can make it whatever I wanted to in my head, but that's an honorable takeaway and an understanding of the situation. Because I have been able to continue. It's taken some time for me to wrap my head around it, but I have been able to continue in a more positive, active role. My sharing of the message of Superman.
When you got to put the uniform, the Superman wardrobe back on, you've described it in we talked about the earlier interviews you did with Michael Rosenbaum.
Mm-hmm.
You described the process of putting the wardrobe back on and what that was like, and it had to be quite gratifying.
It was surreal, but not as surreal as the first time. I was actually more present. Thankfully, it was such a beautiful.
The second
time, father. I've been a father.
Yeah.
15 years later, a lot of wisdom. I think it's wisdom and growth, and so I really felt like I could bring something different and a depth to Superman specifically that I was not able to tap into or understand or even be aware of at the time. And so I was very eager to be able to do that. And so this was an opportunity to really do that, and then also the feeling of being honored and respected, to be back in that way was just tremendous. And it closed the door on that for me. Like I used to have lingering like, oh, what if, and I don't anymore. I still have like, what if, but it's not. It's like, oh, maybe, but it's not. I don't have. It's such a gift. I'm so grateful. It's one of the whole thing.
As you said at the start, you kind of headed out with this thing in your head that you were going to get from point A to point B, and even when it was derailed, you still ended up back there, and coming back to, I would imagine, coming back to such a particular role, having been away for an important period of time where a lot of development, were really just your evolution as a human being here on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine, the depth when you went back to the character, and God, suddenly I have to imagine you saw it with greater depth.
Oh, yes. I mean, I have continued to. He's ever present. The ideas, the theme, the energy of Superman has lived with me always, but it just became like, oh, this is also Superman energy. When this actual role came around, it's like, oh, this is the same thing. This is just this face. It's this telling the story this way. I'm just telling the story this way. This is the puppet I'm using. This is the character. This is the message. This is and so going into to conventions and at first was weird for me because people are paying money to say hi to me and take my picture and my photo, and do I feel weird about that? And yes, I do, but also like they would never meet me if I wouldn't leave my family to go do that if I wasn't getting paid. Not that I don't love people, but I would be with my family. It's an incentive, and is that wrong? And I'm like, the point is I'm here, and if I'm here, and I just go to I'm here. If I'm here with the people, I'll connect with you as much as I can in this moment. So I've been working on being able to connect with people in small instances to say, I see you, I appreciate you. You have this wonderful thing in memory of Superman and the energy that I helped evoke or bring about or stay resonant in your life. And that's awesome and wonderful to meet you. And so the way I interact with people is shifting currently, even, and it's really exciting and fun. So that's just other Superman, and then talking and thinking about it.
It sounds like you have gained over the course of time. You have gained grace, for want of a better word, that you have become.
Yes, I'm learning grace.
Yes, yeah. A wonderful quality to acquire as life goes on.
So it's a great space to be in. It's when I'm able to tap into it and remember that it's available all the time. That's great. Thank you for that's a great definition or explanation.
What are you working on right now?
We started in June, and we were 6 months into our shooting and stopped by the strike. Thankfully, we were independent and signed the waiver agreement right away, and we were down for 2 or 3 days, and then got back and we finished the film, principal photography of a movie that I don't think I'm supposed to talk about it really yet because it's going to be a surprise thing. But it's really fun, and it's a genre. It's a horror comedy action, fun, but kind of family-ish. It's PG-13.
So you will be allowed to see it.
It's going to be scary.
But it's PG-13, but you will be allowed to see it now?
I mean, yes, I will now. Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to hide under the covers.
Right. Oh, yeah. Not so much. But it was so fun and amazing, and another fantastic.
When is it supposed to be out?
We don't know. We're still lots to do, but it's the first thing I've been this excited about in a very long time.
Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great to hear. I came into this not knowing that much about you, but I've learned a lot about you in a very short amount of time, and like I said, I feel like our experience in this business is so similar. Good God, we could weep on each other's shoulders.
Yeah, I've just been talking the whole time. I've been.
But that was the invitation, wasn't it? Hey, if this is our couch, you lie down on, not us. My biggest takeaway is that Brandon, you are Superman. That's it. That's my takeaway.
And he always has been.
And I thank you. We both thank you so much for opening your opening your heart and telling a very hard story. It really is, man. It's hard to tell a story about being disappointed.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a journey the last bit of time to get in touch with my vulnerability and authenticity, and to be as truthful representation of who I am inside, to have that represented outside. And it takes a lot of effort and energy and focus, and also relaxation, composed relaxation. People have better explanations for it, but focused awareness, focused attention. No, that's focused awareness. Focused distraction. I don't know. Now I'm getting distracted by my brain, but
no worries.
Sorry, I'm going to bring that back to a cohesive thought.
Take your moment, find your light.
Yeah. I actually just went off.
No worries.
Now I said too many words, and I did a. What were we talking about?
Oh my God, you just described my brain. Oh my God, I'm hypomanic, so that happens a lot, man. Just a great idea, and suddenly I'm at the end of a pier with nowhere else to go.
If I do too much self-analyzation about why I'm saying the thing I'm doing, then I get lost. I'm lost in that rabbit hole, and I forgot. Like, wait, nobody needs to hear that, Brandon. Go back to the fish. You're reeling at a fish in the story, and what is the fish?
This is why I smoke.
This great thing that she says, and now I imagine it when I'm telling a story. What's the fish? Go back to the fish. What are you pulling in? I don't even remember what I was saying. What were we talking about?
This is why I smoke copious amounts of marijuana.
We were just thanking you for.
Yeah, we were just thanking you for really for being
Oh,
incredibly
vulnerability. We're talking about vulnerability.
open.
I was so open. I lost my train of thought. Vulnerability is important in the world, and I'm grateful to like you mentioned Michael a couple of times. Michael's show, getting people to talk. That was one of the first opportunities I had to kind of speak, have a safe space to talk about the journey I was going through in therapy and how important it is, and mental health and all of these things. I mean, gosh, guys, let's just we gotta love each other, and we gotta support each other, and we gotta know that nobody's perfect, and we're all making mistakes, and we just want to. I just want to make movies and have fun and celebrate. And we don't have to do all this. We don't have to do all this other stuff that we're doing. We don't have to. There's a system that was set up long before we got here, and then we're trying to fix other people's mistakes and then tie the knots. And like, who's to blame? Who's blame? You got the blame. This is your blame, but you did this and you did that. Okay, you can't. You can't unravel. You can't go back and start. You can't go back to the beginning and do it again.
No.
So what now? What do you want? To live and to be happy? What do you want? To live and be happy? Okay, how do we do that?
This is our mission.
So anyway, that's the world. That's world peace right there.
It seems so simple. How can we not solve this? It's a whole other podcast, I think. Thank you, everybody.
I'm being facetious, everyone, in case anybody thinks I'm slight. I'm like 1%, but I'm a little bit mostly facetious. It's not that easy. It is, but it isn't. I don't water down the terrors and the traumas that are happening all across the world. Sorry for everyone. Suffering, and I love all of you. So take care wherever you are.
Indeed. Be safe, everyone. Above all, be safe. And thank you for listening. The How Not to Make a Movie podcast is executive produced by me, Alan Katz, by Gil Adler, and by Jason Stein. Our artwork was done by the amazing Jody Webster, and Jason Jody, along with Mando, are all the hosts of the fun and informative Dads from the Crypt podcast. Follow them for what my old pal the Crypt Keeper would have called terrific crypt content.